When I think about it in those terms, there's actually so much that I probably would like to know, but really don't even know where I would start because it's not a requirement per se that I do it. It's not attached to a lesson that I'm going to be teaching in the classroom. So the idea of me just researching random events is something that I just never make time in my life to do. And I only take time to do that after these Hollywood projects get put in front of my eyes during my relaxation time. And then I say, oh, this happened? Well, let me look into that and see how that happens. And I think that is the good part that so many people miss. What's good, everybody? Welcome to Whole Views. Thank you for clicking the thumbnail. Today, we're going to be doing basically a teacher appreciation video. So, as an educator who also does YouTube videos and I watch a ton of TV shows and movies, I tend to gravitate toward historically significant movies and TV show projects, like things that talk about real life events or things that tackle real life events from an alternative perspective. For example, my favorite movie of all times is Forrest Gump because it covers so much US history and it wraps it all into one very likable, really lovable character who is good-natured and has done so many different things in his lifetime. And it's just a great little story, man. I like Forrest Gump. It's my favorite movie of all time. When I talk about the more recent projects, though, that really give me appreciation for the way different lights are being shined on different parts of the world, I'm thinking specifically about Miss Marvel and The Woman King. So starting with Miss Marvel, I want to say that there were several episodes that focused very strongly on the partition, as they called it. Now, what's crazy is that I teach world geography, right? And teaching world geography, we cover the separation of India after British rule and how it was one big country, India, under the control of the British. And then after the British relinquished control to the Indians, there was a separation of the country of Pakistan and I believe Bangladesh. And you have now a situation where Hindus live in one country, Muslims live in another country, and really at the speed of education in the United States, that is as far as we can really go with that topic. The goal in public school is always to cover as much as you can cover in the amount of time that you can cover it. So we never, in the last 15 years of me teaching a variety of subjects, I've never had the opportunity to really dive deep into this partition as they reference it on Miss Marvel. So I had a deep appreciation as a viewer to know that, hey, there was much more drama involved than what the textbooks convey to the students when you're teaching in a U.S. public school setting. When I say that statement out loud, it really makes me think to myself that there's so much drama involved in everything that we teach, but we don't have the opportunities or the knowledge really to dive deep into every single topic. The partition being a thing that we never dive into just because of at the time of year that we get to it. It's already spring by the time we get to South Asia, and kids are pretty much done taking in new information. Maybe I could speed along and get to it and then dive into it faster. But then when I say that out loud, I'm also thinking about all the other topics that we'll gloss over just to get to this one event. And I think that's the bigger underlying problem. And I'll connect this discussion to the Woman King here. The idea of you need to be reading more about your history. The time when it comes to a traditional U.S. educational setting, as well as the time that people have in their own everyday lives. So connecting it to Woman King here, the Woman King has a lot of feedback in my comment sections talking about how there are going to be elements of the Dahomey tribe story that's not going to be told correctly. The idea is that these guys were actually people who captured other Africans and sold them into slavery, and they were more villainous than they were heroic. Now, here's the thought that I have as an educator and a person who teaches African American studies. We've always known that there were tribes that did that. We just did not know which ones. People in my comment section constantly talking about, hey man, you need to read, you need to research. Well, again, going back to the Miss Marvel conversation, the speed at which we cover things does not enable us to really dive deep into every single topic. The next thought would be, well, what about in your personal life? Why don't you take the time away from school and research and do and look into things? And my response to that is, I just don't have the time. I am a married man. I am a father of two. I have a church that I'm involved in. I have a life that I look forward to living. I don't really take a lot of time to dive into every historical event that I find interesting. When I think about it in those terms, there's actually so much that I probably would like to know, but really don't even know where I would start, because it's not a requirement per se that I do it. It's not attached to a lesson that I'm gonna be teaching in the classroom. So the idea of me just researching random events is something that I just never make time in my life to do. And I only take time to do that after these Hollywood projects get put in front of my eyes during my relaxation time. And then I say, oh, this happened? Well, let me look into that and see how that happens. And I think that is the good part that so many people miss. Let's say that the Dahomey tribe really were villainous, like so many comments have said in the comment section. My next thought would be, no one would have ever known who they were if this movie would have not been made and the trailers and the movie is not released. So the idea that they're, let's say, whitewashing or editing out or giving you cherry-picked stories throughout history is still good, because the people who really care, like the people who drop those comments, or like myself, who I care about history, as I watch this film, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna research. But I'm not going to do that if it's never brought to light. And that's what Miss Marvel did for the partition for me. Now, when I get to that lesson, I'm going to stop and I'm going to say, hey, the book gives it to you in plain sentences. Here are some of the things that we can learn that are much more intricate, much more detailed, and just more rich history than what you get from a few lines in a textbook. So I'm very thankful that Miss Marvel shined a light on the partition, and regardless of how Hollywood chooses to portray the Dahomey tribe, I'm glad that this movie, The Woman King, is being made, because it now, puts a radar up in my head that I'm like, hey, there's a lot of people saying that these guys were bad. I'm gonna watch the movie, see how they're portrayed, and then I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do my research after that, and I'm gonna look into different sources that give me different perspectives on this tribe. I think that's what a lot of people are missing. They see a video and they hear a person speak and they think, oh, you should have researched before you did this. Like, nah, I'm doing reactions. So I reacted to a trailer that looks awesome. The movie looks good, The Woman King. But after this movie comes out, I'm gonna do my own research and say, like, hey, were they really who they say they are? Is this trailer and this movie that gets sold to me, is this who the tribe really were? And I'm gonna take that time at a later date. And I think most people who do take that time are gonna take that time because the Hollywood production was made. And that is the part that is valuable. That is the part that I'm appreciative of as a teacher. That's pretty much the brunt of what I have to say here for this video. I appreciate Hollywood dipping a toe in all this different history that's real stuff. Whether they portray it right or not, it's important that they put this stuff out and we as the audience can absorb it and then say, I care enough to let me go and search for more and see if this was truthfully delivered to us, or is this whitewashed, or is this Hollywood glamorized? Like, did they try to make it look pretty when it's really a horrible event? That's all I have to say, man. I enjoyed it as a teacher. I appreciate all the history that's getting dropped. Miss Marvel was good. It was a good little show. The Woman King looks great, and I'm excited to see it because I like the representation brought forth on the screen. Enjoy yourself, guard your heart, and go watch something good.